nominations for the American Express Award for Best New Musical are
Martin Guerre by Alain Boublil and Claude Michel Schoenberg at the Prince Edward. 9 by Arthur Kopit at the Donmar Warehouse. Passion, music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim at the Queen's.
Yes, that's Martin Guerre. Back home at last, those from the past better beware. He's seen it all. These knows my ways. I was made for what I prayed for all those years. So say, by having the short to sin is not to Martin Guerre. Not a
One of the ironies of Martin Guerre is that when the first reviews came out before the rewrites, they were not really very good. And a lot of people said, not as good as Les Miserables. And I went back to those first reviews, nearly all of which had been hostile. People forget that Les Mis was not then the hit it became. The initial reaction to Boublil Schoenberg is very often in this country. They're very French. They deal with a kind of French history that is, to us, rather obscure. It's the Middle Ages, or with Victor Hugo, it's the 19th century. They have an ability, I believe, to draw out of the history of France through trumpets and drums and drama the greatest kind of musicals I have ever seen. I believe that they will live as the two men who alone really brought opera into the theatre.
The thing that makes Alain and Claude Michel very special is that they're basically musical dramatists. They never write a thing unless it's actually inspired by the story they're trying to tell. Claude Michel absolutely will not ever go to a bottom drawer and pull out a tune that he's either written before or discarded from another show. When he starts in a new project, he usually has a jolly good meal and lights up a big cigar, and then he lifts up the piano lid and whacks it away. And that's how the show starts.
We were looking for a subject totally different from Miss Saigon, as different as Miss Saigon was from Les Miserables. We were looking to Middle Ages, or even before, in the year 1000. I don't know why, maybe because of the millennium. And we were looking that period of time, Middle Ages, before, because it's a land of freedom for writers. The story of Martin Guerre, the way it was, the confusion of identity between a man coming back and telling that he's somebody else, was not enough to justify why people are singing. We had to find something else.
When we had the characters who would give us our story its operatic structure, which we had added to the original story, still we were missing what usually makes the way we write musicals, Claude Michel and me, that kind of epic background to the story. Suddenly I realized that this was the exact time when the religious wars between Protestants and Catholics was happening, and suddenly Martin Guerre came to life. So from there we went to invent a village in which the characters could be deep and surprising enough in order to make us want to spend a long journey with them.
Don't look at them! Keep away from them!
Damn Protestants! Heretics! Damn heretics!
They betrayed our Lord! We don't want you here! Get out of Ortigat!
This is our land!
It's always the same problem with the music, writing a musical. I have to tell a story. But our shows, it's not story of 3 days of revolution in France, or the Vietnam War, or the religious war in France. Our show is a story of very simple people, sometimes shattered by the background. Him and Chris in Saigon are shattered by the Vietnam War, but it's still the story of simple people who are telling. So when I have to describe with the music one character, the music has to describe the inside, the soul of the character. And I'm trying to tell with the music what words and action can't tell you.
Sitzprobe is a very cute word, and we all enjoy saying it. We've only been using the word in musicals for a few years, although it's been a very common term in opera. It's a German word, and it means a sit-down rehearsal, which means that the cast comes and sits in chairs, and they sing through the opera. What it is the first time that the cast rehearses with the orchestra.
Hello. Are we going upstairs? Are we going upstairs?
Martin Guerre! Cast of Martin Guerre, meet the orchestra of Martin Guerre.
To what's always, without a doubt, the most unbearably exciting moment in any musical. We don't have every single part of the jigsaw in place. Rubbish is easy to write quickly, genius takes a little bit longer. And we certainly are in the presence of genius with Jonathan Tunick, who's been absolutely...
I'm actually Donlan, and I'm the director.
Juliette Clayton, the trombone.
John Stacey, swing. Matt Rawle, Martin Guerre. Michael Matus, the idiot.
Jerome Braden Guillaume.
Cameron McIntosh, Scottish Maltese boss.
Over to the orchestra, please. Peter Collier, viola.
Sue Briscoe, violin.
Gabriel Petron, violin.
Dermot, fiddle.
Prologue begins with just some individual notes. They're unaccompanied. They're just plain notes. It's a tune you could whistle. And it's very unusual for a musical, especially a large-scale musical, to begin with just a little unaccompanied tune. We usually have to begin with some big, grandiose opening. The big cliche is the timpani roll. Martin Guerre is quite the opposite. It begins with a flute solo. This is unheard of. So if you looked at the piano score, you would see just some notes with no chords. It was my responsibility to choose what instrument or what combination of instruments should play that tune. And then various combinations of woodwind instruments, and finally all the strings together play it. And it becomes what we call an ostinato, because it is indeed obstinate. It repeats over and over, while other elements of the music shift. The harmony shifts, the rhythm shifts, and the orchestration shifts. And gets louder and louder, and it actually represents the dawning of the day, the sun rising. The peasants are working in the field. They rest, they reflect, they work, the day ends, and they go to church.
The main structural changes that I worked on in Martin Guerre was to do with the placing of Bertrand. We placed Bertrand right at the top of the show after the slightly abstract prologue. So the first character we really become involved in is Bertrand herself. It also sows some seeds for her relationship with the village fool, Benoit. But most importantly, it says to the audience, this is Bertrand, this is who we want you to care about, this is who we want you to follow through the evening. And then we can begin to see the story from her perspective.
Can we reach like the trees? Touch the stars in the sky, and then we'll see all that we've done. Is it our turn to try? Touch the stars in the sky, the day, all the seeds that we've sown, all we've known will survive like the trees we are strong. Like the trees we belong. We can pray for a day to arrive.
All my days, all my nights, all I dream of is you. What is this? Just a deal? I know my love is true. Please, Bertrand, can't you see how this farce makes me feel? You'll regret this, don't forget this. There are scars that never heal.
Do you, Bertrand, Suzanne Rolls, take Martin Antoine Guerre to be your lawfully wedded husband?
I do.
Do you, Martin Antoine Guerre, take Bertrand Suzanne Rolls to be your lawfully wedded wife? Martin!
We were inspired by Bruegel because he's the only painter from that period, precisely the period we wanted, and he painted the very scenes, the absolute scenes that we were portraying on stage, like the peasant weddings. And he is also the greatest of the painters who ever painted peasant weddings. So having looked at Bruegel, we realized that there was no choice. Here was our visual starting point, and he's shot right through. And if you look at his paintings, you will see the grey semi-timbered buildings, you will see the colours that we've put on stage.
Marriage ceremony, it's an entirely new song called Working on the Land now. There are so many references to the land throughout, the importance of the land. We come from the land, we die, we return to the land. The seasons that are talked about and worked throughout the show. That we decided that we would start with a very clear statement of what the land means and allow the relationships and the sense of community and indeed the marriage itself to grow out of that image.
The first real conception I had for the tone of the show came from seeing photographs of the set, which are these really stark oaken timbers. And that's basically what it is, just good, honest oak. And I thought to myself, apparently what this score will require is just good, honest oak. Just good, solid, plain stuff. And There are actually several different elements to the musical tone of the show, but one of them is definitely good, solid oak.
Shari-bari, know it all when it creeps. Shari-bari, shari-bari night. Shari-bari, shari-bari, shari-bari night. Out there, all the secrets and the lies. Out there, all the seagulls in the sky. Out there, all the shari-bari.
I think I shook Cameron up a little bit when he asked me, what will be the rhythmic backbone of your orchestra? And I told him, the strings.
Shari-bari, ring the bell, shari-bari tells.
Now, to anybody who's versed in music at all, this is not a revolutionary idea. But to those whose knowledge is basically pop music and think of the strings as this sugary stuff that gets sprinkled over the top of a rhythm track, it can be a rather revolutionary idea, I guess.
Take my hand and make amends. Hey lads, the boy's a beast. And if the hand is small and damp, at least it's
Get her a skirt, boys, but rouge on her face.
now she can flirt, boys, but wait just in case.
Get her a boyfriend to kiss and embrace. Put him on top, boys, he's game for the ride. Don't let them stop, boys, you want him inside. We know how wives like to be satisfied. Please be told, if you knew the tears I've shed, why love him when you could love me instead?
Guillaume, I will never share your bed.
Just get away from me!
What the audience really comes to see is the act of spontaneous imagination making something up. So although there's a rule to be followed, that there's a script that's written or notes to be sung or dance steps to be danced, that what the audience really wants to see is the actor's imagination appearing to make those things to be inevitable.
No more, I don't give a damn. Why stay, what for? I know who I am. That's it, I quit this village and life. I leave this pit, their pitiful life. But I'll come back one day, after 10 years away, and they'll stop and they'll say, look, 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 it's Martin Guerre. Isn't he grand, standing so tall, handsome and fair? Yes, it's Martin Guerre. Back home at last, those from the past better beware. Stride through the town, laughs, waves them away. They all think he must be the same, but by heaven there's sure to see this more to Martin Guerre. What a name! That bastard Guillaume, on whose grave I shall spit. Clings to Bertrand, my wife, like a fly clings to shit. The thought, it makes me sick. May God damn both of them to hell, and all of Artigat as well. Look, it's Martin Guerre, looking so good, could it be him stood over there? Yes, that's Martin Guerre, back from a war not like before, different I swear. He's seen it all, he's traveled the land, and look what he became. By heaven, they're sure to see this more to Martin Guerre. Just look what he became. By heaven, they're sure to see this more to Martin Guerre. What a name.
This boy is 17 and he's now leaving the village where he was born, which is for him the world, the existing world. He's leaving that village and going to nowhere. He doesn't know where he's going, just because he's been so strongly humiliated. So he leaves the village, and then I always felt, back to the original French lyrics, which I wrote back in 92 or 91. It was called Je reviendrai, which in English means I will return. So it was a song of anger, of a young boy who was saying, I will return, and they will see who is Martin, who is the real Martin, who I will be, who I can be. It was a song of bravura, of a young boy who was, telling, you will see, I'll come back and I will be the king of the world, and you will see who Martin is.
In French, I thought it worked wonderfully well. It's a song called Je reviendrai, which means I will return. And shall I just try and play a bit here? It kind of goes like this. In French, it was, that's the key. Oui, je reviendrai. Now, I can't really explain why that sounds good, but it does. The French works really well. It has a really good sound to it. You can kind of get your teeth round the words. However, when you translate that into English, it's lousy. I don't know why it's lousy. I'm not clever enough to tell you why, but it becomes, yes, I will return, or even yes, I will come home, or even yes, I will be back. And all of them are awful, I think. And believe me, I sat here for a day going through every single solution as to how that song might be written.
When Edward Hardy started to write the English lyrics on that song, he thought that part of the song, which is you will see who the real Martin will be, should become the main part, of the song. And after discussing it together, the song became, look, it's Martin Guerre. So as if he was showing himself.
So from becoming I will return, it becomes him singing about the villagers, singing, look, it's Martin Guerre, isn't he grand, standing so tall, handsome and fair?
Look, it's Martin Guerre, standing so brave, back from the grave, us would dare. Yes, that's Martin Guerre, back from the war, not like before, on this I swear. He's seen it all, he's traveled the land, and look at what he became. Oh, by heaven, there's sure to see this more to Martin Guerre. Just look at what he became. Oh, by heaven, there's sure to see this more to Martin Guerre.
Martin was difficult because really you marry a young boy at the age of 15 or 16. So he's just a boy. So my belief, and Claude Michel, the way we have tried to establish the character is that he was too young to know who he was or what he wanted. Just found himself in a situation that he couldn't face. And he was different from all the other boys who at 14 maybe already, young studs and ready for action. He was different, whatever was his sexual identity. So once he was pushed too far, his pride took over, and one night he just left his village and went to see the world.
The Protestants are attacking! Come on!
Lucille is a man who is a mercenary and at the same time probably an idealist. He's someone who is looking for a perfect world, and as he doesn't know that he knows it doesn't exist, has decided to go the other way, and he's become a bit of a cynic. But like all cynics, he's ready to fall in love at any time.
We began looking at Bertrand, and it became clear to us that if she was to be the protagonist, she could not be passive, she could not be a victim of her circumstances. She had to be assertive, she had to be, in a sense, modern. There had to be an element of feistiness about her. This was a woman who was going to be making decisions, taking risks, risking loving, risking losing.
Every day I pray for Martin's return, Father. Tell me, what else can I do?
I've spoken to the Bishop Bertrand. He has found the answer to our prayers.
If he has found Martin, I promise I will give Artigat an heir.
The bishop is prepared to grant an annulment of your marriage at last, so our land can be saved. You will give us a child when you marry Guillaume.
Never!
Marry Guillaume.
I will never
You have a duty.
break my vow.
You have no choice.
Not for Catholics.
The bishop insists.
Not for anyone.
And Artigat demands.
Not for the church.
I beg you, Bertrand.
Not for you.
You'll do as you're told.
And not for Artigat.
When we began to look at the role of the fool, I felt very strongly that there is a long and wonderful tradition of theatrical fools, and Shakespeare obviously uses them phenomenally well. One ingredient within that is that there is an inner wiseness within the fool, and it may not be a new thought, but it's a very, very fertile area to explore. And I felt that the fool had to become wiser if he was to really become integrated properly into our central narrative. And by strengthening his relationship with Bertrand, enabled us to allow him to see things and to hear things and to feel things that were going on, and help support what she needed.
My name is Arnaud Duthieu. I'm looking for a Madame Martin Guerre. You see, I've been told she lives somewhere near here. Do you know where I can find her? I don't know. Shh. Who are you talking to?
Louison.
Do you understand me? I'm looking for a wife who hasn't seen a husband for all her married life. I'm asking for your help. You must be quite a connoisseur. If you know someone as beautiful as her.
In Artigat there's a lonely maid, a lovely bride if he'd only stayed. She is precious, she is frankincense and myrrh, and only my Louison's as beautiful as her.
All the pleasures of the earth I'd give if I could keep the treasures in those eyes. Staying here or fighting wars, I know which I prefer. If I knew someone as beautiful as her. So you know Madame Martin Guerre?
Yes.
Will you find it for me? Oh, don't worry about Louison. I'll look after her.
The scene of the return was really a nightmare for me. And what I hate when I have to face a sequence like that is the lack of unity. So it was really a very difficult task. Because on the same practical and same music, people had to speak, to shout, to have dialogue, and finishing by a dance.
didn't want a story just about a village, which would be too much like a play. We wanted to invent a dimension for Martin Guerre, which would have to do with movement, and that's what Bob Avian, the famous Broadway choreographer, was brought in by Cameron and asked to invent, in association with Declan and Nick Ormerod, the language for this piece.
My approach to the dancing in Martin Guerre was to find a common denominator in terms of European folk dancing. So I started exploring and looking at videotapes of Irish step dancing and Spanish flamenco and Celtic kind of folk dancing, and trying to find a common denominator, which I did, which was about stamping the ground. My biggest challenge with that number was how to keep Arnaud from dancing and keeping him the center of the number, because he had to come back into this village and pretend he was another man, and they're doing their traditional folk dancing around him. Now, how come he doesn't know this number? So we built into the tradition of the blindfold, so we couldn't see what they were doing.
Every movie has been playing on the fact that the suspense was about Bertrand knowing or not knowing that Arnaud was or was not Martin. We have decided from the start to kill that one and to make Bertrand know right away that Arnaud is not Martin, and to make her decision to ask him to stay as a conscious woman who knew what she was doing.
Probably the bravest step to take with the show was to actually make the audience and know exactly that Bertrand knew all the time, because the alternative to that is a Pandora's box emotionally, because if she was tricked, then it's very hard to feel that there was ever a real love affair.
Tell me to go.
There goes the wife, there goes my life.
Tell me to go.
Please.
Tell me to leave. This is all wrong.
What can I say?
Tell me to go.
They all believe he is my time. They believe you're the same. But you are a part of my life. It's a life I was made for, that I prayed for all these years. Somewhere I hope to find someone. Still I find myself near you. Then I hear you say the words. I'll go.
Just one last look at you. One look and then I'll go my way.
We decided that we would have to write the necessary material and the proper score for us to care for these two people whose love is born out of a lie, and to make them the heroes of our evening.
Lord, who is this man? Can I trust what I've heard? All I can hear is his pain. Has he crafted each word? And yet there's something more. Has something died, or is this what I've waited for? No!
Tell me to go.
This can't go on.
I should be gone. Tell me to go. Tell me to leave.
This must be wrong.
I don't belong. Tell me to go. They think Martin is my name. They all believe I'm the same. That I am a part of your life. All those years that I waited, was it fated from the start? Somewhere where I hope to find someone, still I find myself near you. Then I hear you say the words, I'll go. Just one last look at you, one look and then I'll go my way.
They'll make me marry a man I hate. I was only safe while Martin was alive.
I'm the only one who knows he died. No one else need ever know.
Who else knows you're not Martin?
Only the fool, Benoit.
He will not betray you. He's my friend. No one else need to ever know.
Please, tell me to leave.
What's moving on the Seeds probe is the meeting between a company and an orchestra. It's a human adventure happening there. And on the Seeds probe there, I'm always looking to the faces of the actors to see their reaction.
incredible scale and size with Jonathan's orchestrations, as well as ravishing simplicity. And I think that's why that Sitzprobe was particularly moving for everybody, that suddenly we didn't have to worry about moves and sets and lights and everything, and the actual great dramatic and lyrical texture of what Alain and Claude Michel and Edward Hardy had written was able to just fly.
We didn't have any clue or basis for the second night. And one day with Alain we were talking about what the reaction of people inside the court attending a trial.
From every corner, every street and field, every hovel, every heart and home, every witness waiting to take part, everyone the trial's about to start.
But never doubt, my friends, if we are right, just tell the truth as we discussed last night. Leave your pitchforks in a pile. They're forbidden in the trial. Just be calm and dignified. Keep your fighting far outside. Come along, everyone to the court.
The second act has always amazed me. It's moving from powerful climax to climax, and how Claude Michel manages to top himself in sequence after sequence, which would fill a lesser show on their own, is quite amazing.
My name is Guerre. Martin Guerre. If justice finds he's lived a lie, then justice says he has to die, my lord.
For justice says
The penalty is death. And justice needs to strangle every lying breath. Justice, we want justice, only justice, give us justice now, my lord. To burn his simple strip of flesh, and to shred his evil from our hands.
It took us a long time before we felt that Benoit was needed in the story. You always need, you're talking about Shakespearean character, you always need the conscience. And Benoit is the conscience of the village. And far from being a stupid idiot, if I may say, Benoit is someone who knows the truth, but just have difficulties in saying it in the same words as we say it. So he has his own way of expressing his own truth.
Come along. Me, who's me, who me, is me meant to reply. But who's that meant to be? I see now you mean I. Who's I? Oh, I see. And you want me to tell? No, I won't. Anyway, I don't remember that well. I remember there was me and my love, Louison. I remember there was sky above our Louison. Me and her and sky, sky, her and me. About the morning when the stranger came, you must have seen him, did he say?
No nonsense in this court. We must sort out this whole affair. Oi! What do you know of Martin Guerre?
He, who's he? Search me, I'm me, not him. He's who he ought to be. You thought that meant him. Ask him, not me. It's not for me to say. So I shan't. Anyway, I can't remember that day. I remember there was me and my sweet Louison. I remember dancing down the street with Louison. Me and her and sky, sky, her and me.
About the morning when the stranger came, you would have to see him, did he say? I won't have all this crowd interference in here. I won't have the witnesses alike. Oi, just stay calm. You shall come to no harm, but you must tell us all that he said.
He told me his name.
Good.
And
him, Martin.
I'm Martin Guerre. Oh, there's no disguise. Look in my eyes. I'm him, I swear. Yes.
Bertrand's maybe the closest character to the real story. She's a woman who, in her time, dared to do, dared to act, and to do whatever she wanted, what she felt was right for her, and not what the people had asked her to do, not what the village wanted her to do, which is what she had done when she had married at such a young age, just because this was the way things were done at that time, just to please the other people.
Come, Bertrand, you must know, is this man Martin Guerre? Bertrand, who is this man?
Who's kind and someone who cares, someone who loves and someone I can cry with, someone who dreams and someone who dares, who makes love as the night falls, and is there when the morning comes. I prayed for the day I would grow to be strong. I prayed for the day I would love and belong. He's answered my prayers. Who can say love is wrong? Someone returned and someone reborn. Someone who's yearned to spend his years beside me. Someone who's found
Light in her eyes, let the sun always rise. My heart and my soul for the whole of my life. Someone I see, someone I love, someone who lives loving me.
I remember I was telling Claude Michel in a car, coming from Heathrow to London, about that idea that I thought there should be a song of reflection called The Imposter, about all those people who would, for 1 second in the evening, forget about their agenda and say, but who are the imposters here? Aren't we all imposters? Who is the imposter? The one who leads, who really loves Bertrand, and is telling a lie about his identity. All the liars are the people who live together and don't love each other, and who are just living by a social lie. Where is the lie? Is it the real lie, the social lie, the love lie? These people have to stop for 3 minutes in the evening and tell us about their secret thoughts.
We played the cassette to Cameron, I remember, in Alan's house in London. And he was sitting on a chair. And we started to play the cassette, and Cameron was pulling back on his chair each time he was listening to him, like if he received a big pressure on him. And practically at the end of the song, he was stuck against the wall because he was pulling back so much that his chair was moving with him. And when the music stopped, he turned to me and he said, but it's a fantastic piece of music.
Who are the imposters here? We who live our lives deceiving, hiding from the truths we fear. We are always make-believe. Those are you and I. Look inside and you'll see it is we who are dying. Guillaume always loses it just when he's about to win. And that kind of character, at the end, there is so much anger, so much frustrated anger that mounts into a character like this, that at the end, he leads the religious revolt. And for personal beliefs, because he's a deeply rooted Catholic, but also because of his unrequited love, Guillaume decides to turn the whole village, in the name of religion, against Arnaud and Bertrand.
Everywhere is chaos, everywhere is doubt, everywhere are heretics, the time has come to ban them out. In your hour of danger, vows I have vowed, shout it from the rooftops, I will make you proud. Here I stand before you, bloody and unbowed, by the sword of Jesus, I will make you proud.
The knife dance, as we refer to it now, or the madness, as it says in the program, was originally supposed to be a ballet about the secrets of the village as seen through the eyes of the idiot. But when you work on a show like this, you have to go scene by scene by scene before you get to that sequence. And what happened here, we realized Guillaume's story was most forefront at that point, and we wanted to go on with it. And what he was feeling was then expressed and brought out and taught to the rest of the village, which I think is a wonderful advantage we found here, and it gave me a great opportunity to do a dance that had a different style from the rest of the evening, a violent style, a frightening style.
it's great to give the upbeat for that rhythm again, bum, bum, because you're saying to the audience, no, don't applaud. This is actually happening. They're practicing to murder people. That's the knife going in another inch deeper. And then, of course, that builds to the finale of the show where the Protestants are indeed massacred, and there's more horrifying music and stage effects and fire and you name it, we've got it.
In all my shows, I have a favorite musical moment. In Martin Guerre, it's at the very end of the show when the character called Guillaume jump on the Martin who's come back home and sing to him and express his love for Bertrand. That's my favorite moment in the show, and if somebody asks me to rewrite the whole show, I will never change one note of this section.
There's no escape. Admit defeat. This time you're dead. There's no retreat. Don't stare. Don't try to take my love away. Right from the start, this was their plan. Right from the start. Keep out Guillaume. Keep him away, far from Bertrand. Keep them apart. All I did, Bertrand, I did for you. So true, so pure. I knew you deserved much more. A Martin Guerre, better than them. A Martin Guerre, much more like me. Leave her alone. It's me you want. It's me she loves. I'm here, Guillaume, I'm here, Guillaume. Martin must die. I'll kill Martin. Then come to me. I'm Martin Guerre. Yes.
Music for me is concrete. I can touch it. I can change the shape if I want with my finger. And when I achieve a score, I can travel inside the score. I am the only one to know the score from inside. Imagine a wonderful castle from the Loire River in France. Imagine Chenonceau or Chambord. And I am the only one having the key to enter the castle. I can go from one room to another room. And everybody else is looking at the castle, but from outside in the park. But me, I'm allowed to enter the castle and to change the decoration of each room and to do what I want. And that's the way I feel it. I know the score from inside.
award goes to Martin Guerre.
And to accept it, Alain Boublil and Claude-Michel Schoenberg. The producer of the show, Cameron McIntosh. This show stars Ian Glenn and Juliet Caton and a cast of nearly 40. Cameron McIntosh took a brave decision to close the show for a while, rewrite it, but it's back on and even more successful now.
Well, for the 1986 Laurence Olivier Award, our first show, Les Miserables, lost to Me and My Girl. So the following morning, Alan and me, we decided to write for the next show a 1930 very funny, comic, uplifting work. And we did Miss Saigon. But for the 1990 Laurence Olivier Award, Saigon lost to Forbidden Planet. So we decided to write a very rock and roll show with a lot of compilation and heavy metal work. And we did Martin Guerre. So receiving tonight this wonderful award we have been waiting so long, we think that we took the right decision. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
This show comes right out of the earth as surely as Oklahoma comes out of the American earth. It isn't glitzy, it isn't lavish, and yet it is very, very rooted. It is a thriller. It's a play about who you really are. It's a show that I think works on a huge number of levels. I think it does demand a working audience. It isn't the kind of show you check your brain in with your hat and coat. But I think once you are prepared to work with this show and love this show, it pays you back vastly better than easier, more immediately accessible musicals. It's not like anything you've really seen before. And I think that's the greatness. I believe that these two men alone have really changed the shape of the musical. And I think they have made it grow up. This show is not going away. This show will turn up, I promise you, 10 years from now, 50 years from now. Martin Guerre lives.